Welcome to the Quick Time Event Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Josh, and as always, I am joined by my partner in crime, John.
That would be me, and for some reason, you are very loud.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. It might just be these headphones.
I think it's just, there's nothing different over here.
All right.
The Quick Time Event Podcast is a chance for John and I to get together each and every week to talk about all of the nerdy things that we love. If you like what you hear, you can find us live on twitch.tv/QuickTimeEvent_ every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, or on all of your favorite podcast services and YouTube shortly after the live show ends. It's going to be a light week for us this week. Not much news. Most of the news for the week dropped last Friday. As we sort of alluded at the very end of last week's episode, there was a Pokemon Direct. And we got some stuff, so we'll talk about the Pokemon Direct. And then there's been some rumors this week about some possible new Switch SKUs coming later this year. And then we're going to touch again on a topic we dabbled in last week, which is, what are we looking forward to this year? What is happening this year? What can we expect? And the good people over at gamesindustry.biz wrote a nice little write-up to kind of explain what I had just been assuming, and I think a lot of people have been assuming, but be prepared for. But before we get to all of that, what have you been up to, John?
Oh boy, quite a few things. Obviously more One Piece. Not going to go into too much detail, but like there was a character that was introduced for maybe 2 episodes. A very short, tiny arc. That was 250 episodes ago. Have not heard of or heard about him the entire time.
Sure.
He might be very relevant to a kind of important arc that's happening now. And I'm just like, how? How did you do this? How could you plan that far in advance?
Okay, what's this dude's name? What's the mangaka's name?
Oda.
Oda. Oda's a genius. Okay, I'm not gonna sit here and say he's not a fucking remarkable dude. He's created this series that is probably the most beloved shonen anime ever. That's been running literally forever. I think everybody assumes that he's like this mastermind that like has this entire plot that's been like created for 20 years and he knows everything that's going to happen at any point. I don't think that's the case.
I know it's not the case. Plus he's got like, I don't know where this came from, but like somebody posted this list of stuff that people like praise about One Piece. And they were like, hey, if you like these things, these were actually suggestions by his editor. So like it's not a one-man show, that's for sure.
For sure. And like it comes out every now and then where he's like, yeah, we have enough content for like 6 more seasons or like 10 more years. And he like the goalpost keeps moving. But like I'm sure that he has like general ideas about where he could see. I mean, this is his life. This is all he's done for 20 years. Yeah. I'm sure that he has a pretty good grasp on like where he wants to take the series. But like little things like this where he just like introduces characters. There's no way in 1990 whatever, or maybe this was the 2000s at this point when you're watching.
Regardless, and like, yeah, and there's no way that he introduced a character like a one-off character,
right?
And then was like, all right, in 5 years, I'm gonna make this relevant.
Yeah, there's no way that he did that.
Yeah,
I'm sure that he like needed a character to fulfill the role that he was this role that it's gonna fulfill, and then he just remembered back. He's like, oh yeah, that guy.
Oh yeah,
that'll work.
That. Draw from your resources.
Exactly.
So yeah, I've been watching One Piece, obviously. Watched more Marvel. Watched the Avengers and Iron Man 3. Goodbye, Iron Man. I think that's the last Iron Man movie. I mean,
yeah.
Civil War is kind of an Iron Man movie, and Age of Ultron is kind of 2-ish.
I mean, in the Avengers movies, Iron Man is pretty much. Yeah, so Captain America Civil War, it is pretty much like a half and half Iron Man, Captain America movie.
Yeah.
All of the Avengers movies are probably like 60% Iron Man.
Yeah, that's fair.
At least.
So yeah, making our way in that. good progress. 2 weeks still, so I think we're on track to be done in like May, maybe earlier, maybe later. I don't know. Math. And I have not started Final Fantasy yet because I was going to. And when do the PS Plus games change?
They're out now. It's usually the first week of the month.
Okay, because I thought it was the first day of the month, so I went on to my PlayStation and on the first, and I was like, "All right, let's do this. Let's go. Let's start this game." And it wasn't there, and I was like, "Oh,
no." It's usually when the
Psych.
when the store updates, so like Tuesday.
Okay. Well, since I had my PlayStation on, I was like, "Well, I'm here," and I didn't have any other plans other than to start Final Fantasy. So, all right, let's start Spider-Man. I've been watching Marvel. I could play a superhero game, so I started Spider-Man.
Nice. How far are you?
Not super far. I don't know. What is the current mission? So, and I think it's old enough that I can just say whatever. Plus, I'm clearly
we're
not
gonna
that
spoil
far.
Spider-Man for the next couple of weeks, probably.
Yeah, for sure. But again, I'm not very far because I kind of dicked around and did some side stuff between missions. The last thing I did was I got a mask from one of those guys who was trying to take the file from Fisk's like estate sale.
Yeah.
So I got the mask and I'm about to go to the feast center to talk to that one guy and be like, "Hey, you have an art degree and are working at like a homeless shelter now. Help me."
So you're pretty early on. There's like
Yeah.
that game does a lot right. So like, okay, I love how the game opens. I love how it just like it opens and you're swinging like immediately. You're going to Fisk Tower to take on Kingpin, and it's like it just throws you right in, and it's so like I don't know. You feel you feel how like great everything feels right away, and it just locks you in. And it's like okay, I'm
sure.
in for this. At least that's how it was for me.
No, that's a very good way of putting it. I would agree wholeheartedly.
And the probably what I like most about Insomniac's take on this character is that they play with your knowledge. They're like, okay, if you had no knowledge or very little knowledge of Spider-Man going into this, maybe you saw the Tobey Maguire movies or something, or maybe you've just seen Tom Holland Spider-Man. Like, even with only that context, they still are able to take like what's happening in that universe and like kind of turn it on its head so you don't expect what's going to come.
Yeah.
And so like there are a bunch of characters, some of them you probably have met already or have heard that you probably have ideas about, and you probably might see where they might go at some point. But like along the way, there are so many twists and turns that it really, even as a hardcore Spider-Man fan, someone that knows a lot about that character, it still was able to surprise me in a lot of cool ways.
That's good. I love how much of a dork Peter is.
Yeah.
It's so great.
So, okay, you're playing this.
Buttercup. He's on the mission.
You're playing this now with the knowledge of Persona 4. I had not played Persona 4 when I played Spider-Man for the first time, and I didn't really know very much of Yuri Lowenthal's work before that. But after I went back and I played the City That Never Sleeps DLC after I had played Persona 4, and then I can't get Yosuke's voice out of my head. It's just he's Yosuke. That's all he is, Spider Yosuke, pretty much.
Yeah, a little bit.
But yeah, Peter is great. The only thing that like is not my favorite in that game is the Mary Jane stuff.
Yeah, I had one of those already.
There's a few of them, and it's like
it was kind of pace breaking.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't a bad thing. It wasn't poorly done. It's just that like it didn't really feel needed.
No, I 100% agree. It's like they weren't bad parts of the game, but you're definitely right where it was pace breaking, and it was just like this could have been explained in like a phone call. Like I didn't need to necessarily see all of this, or if I did need to see it, it could have been a cutscene. I don't need to do like this half-assed stealth mission kind of thing. Especially
because, and I don't know if the later ones are like this, but like before I met up with Mary Jane, I was doing stealth stuff as Spider-Man. Like, we were good on the stealth stuff. I was being sneaky and webbing people. Why did you make me continue stealth but take away the web?
Yeah. You took away all of the fun parts of the stealth and left me with this non-powered reporter, basically.
Yeah. So, otherwise, no, I'm really enjoying it. It's a very good time, for sure.
Have you seen? I can't remember. Did you watch Spider-Verse?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I watched it like a day before it got taken off of Netflix.
That's what I thought you did, but I couldn't remember. So
yeah.
Even with that, having seen that, they're gonna play with stuff.
And I think I've got more knowledge than most when it comes to Spider-Man. Just because I forget which version it was, but I watched all of the 80s Spider-Man cartoon. Maybe it was the 90s. I don't remember which one it was, but
yeah,
there was like it was on like 6 DVDs. So it had to have been like, and it wasn't like anime DVDs where they just put on 2 episodes.
That's the one that ran simultaneously with the X-Men series.
Maybe.
Did the X-Men ever show up? Because there were crossover episodes.
I think they did periodically. I know there was a Fantastic Four crossover episode or 2. But regardless, like I've seen those. I did try to get in out of the comic books. I know we've had this discussion. Out of the comic books that I tried to get into, it was always usually Spider-Man. So like Spider-Man's probably the one that I have the most knowledge about at this point. So I am looking forward to hopefully being surprised by some things. But oh my God, I really love how much of a giant fucking nerd he is.
He nails
like he's got such bad jokes, and it's 100% how it should be.
Right. And like, okay, at the beginning of the game, it's revealed that Peter and MJ are not together.
Yeah.
And
something
like,
happened 6 months ago. I assume it was a weird, bad breakup.
And so
whatever.
Like, you can see Peter like, okay, so he has Aunt May, and he has the work he does at Feast, which is the homeless shelter. And then he has his work with Dr. Octavius. And it's like, outside of that, he clearly has no friends and he has no one to talk to. So, he's like he's blowing off all of his energy, like just talking to himself, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, he literally said that on like after I finished a mission. After I finished the MJ mission, he was like, he got on top of the roof and he was like, all right, I took down Shocker and did this and this. Totally normal life you're living, Peter. And it was like, man.
They nail, just the character is great. And I don't know, so Spider-Man's always been a snarky, sarcastic kind of character. And a lot of that comes through, especially from like comic panels when he's like just making quips as he's fighting. And Insomniac did just such a great job implementing voice lines when you're fighting people. Like even just like ordinary thugs, like you pull off a move that looks kind of cool and Peter will make a quip. And it's just like, it's like immersion almost.
For sure. It looks like the one that I watched was, I believe it ran from 94 to 98. Yeah. It was 65 episodes. I think that's the one that I watched.
That should be the one that ran with the X-Men series that everybody loves from the 90s.
That sounds about right.
And then after that, it got kind of crazy. I think that's when they went to the future and all that stuff.
Yeah, even at the end of the series, it was like they went to the Secret Wars and then the Spider Wars, and there was Madam Web, and like timeline space stuff was happening. And I was like, okay, time out. What? I was following you with all the superpowered people, whether they be villains or heroes, but like, what is all this stuff that you're now putting in?
Right.
So
what version of the game did you get? Did you get the Game of the Year edition?
Or I think I got the Game of the Year edition because whatever DLC you just mentioned, I have downloaded.
Okay. Make sure you play that too, because there's like
for sure.
There's major character moments that happen that are gonna pay off later, like in later games. With several characters are featured during those DLCs, and there's actual like real story implications later on.
Gotcha.
I forget. Has Silver Sable showed up yet?
No.
Okay. Silver Sable is a character that
the only characters, like name characters who have shown up, superpowered characters, I suppose. Obviously Spider-Man, Kingpin, Shocker just showed up and that was fun.
Yeah.
And
Black Cat?
I've seen wall art of Black Cat, but I haven't actually seen her. So
she's just, I can't remember what, I feel like in that game she just had like there's like side missions you do almost.
That makes sense. But yeah, it's been fun. I've been enjoying it. Good time. Gonna continue it and beat it. And then I'll play Final Fantasy VII.
I understand that. And then you can maybe get Miles Morales somewhere down the road for PS4.
Yeah. Or maybe by that time I'll get a PS5. Who knows? We'll see.
I was going to say something about PlayStation 5s, but I'll leave it be.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say something along the lines of like if you could get a PS5.
Yeah.
But
hopefully my prediction's right and we do get like an actual supply of them.
Well, did you see Joe Biden? There was an article. I didn't see this last week, but there was apparently he started some task force or he started an investigation or something
PlayStation task
into chip availability.
I think I saw that.
And like where are the chips going and why aren't there enough of them is basically the gist of it. And I don't think that it's for PlayStation. It's not because
Joe Biden for gamers.
It's mostly for like CPUs and probably missiles if I had to guess. But
that would make sense.
Yeah.
Every PlayStation you buy stops America from building one with one missile.
Yeah. Hopefully I did see that Walmart had some in stock today. I feel like every day now Wario64 tweets out a link to like a major retailer. It's not like Ant Online or whatever. It's Walmart, it's Best Buy, it's Amazon. It's somebody is having PS5s available every single day. So
we're making progress.
Definitely. Yeah.
what are you up to?
Not too much. Continuing Persona 5 Strikers.
Surprised you haven't beaten it yet. How long is it?
It's like 40 hours.
Okay.
I think. I'm about 20 hours in or so.
All right, so halfway.
It is, well, yeah, I don't know actually. Now I have no idea. I'm about 18 hours in, but I'm only on the second jail and there are like 8 jails. So maybe it's longer. Maybe it's like 16 to 80 hours. I don't know. Maybe the speed is probably going to pick up too, because it's been a lot of tutorials. Like everything has a fucking tutorial. So once all that stuff wraps up, I think it'll go faster, but, they did a lot of cool stuff with just like the idea of them being on a road trip and some of the mechanics they had to play with to like make it make sense. Like you have to go back to previous jails, to like do like mop up missions and stuff to get like complete requests and whatever. And like they explain that away. Like if you're in Sendai, you can warp back essentially to Shibuya to go to the other jail. So they're doing some cool things. The other part is like the actual jail itself is very different from the idea of what a palace is from Persona 5. Mm-hmm. And the way that you tackle them is a lot different. There's almost like 2 parts to it. Like there's the area outside where you're actually in the streets of whatever city you're in. And then you have to figure out how to get inside of like the main, they call it a castle, I guess. And then once you get inside the castle, then you have to do something else to get up to the monarch, and then you have to send the calling card and all that little stuff. But like there's almost like another layer from what there was in Persona 5, which is a little cool.
Have they explained how the metaverse is back?
No. So it's all very like no one knows what's going on. Like, cause the idea, cause the jails don't disappear. Like once they take out the monarch, essentially, There's no treasure. They're not stealing treasure. There's this idea of desires. And essentially what's happening is somebody is taking the desires of other people through this new phone app. It's not the MetaNav, but something else. And so like basically in the very first jail, there's this idol that is basically making people worship her in real life by taking those people's shadows' desire, essentially.
Jesus.
And so you go into the jail, and in order to free the people, you have to take back the desire from the monarch and defeat the monarch's shadow, obviously. But when that happens, the jail doesn't collapse. The palaces would collapse when you defeated the monarch and you took the treasure. Or the palace ruler and took the treasure. But that doesn't happen here. The jails stay up. And so like that's a big mystery right now is why aren't the jails going away? Like what's happening? Why does the metaverse exist? Igor's not there. I don't know. That might just be a thing where they didn't want to like fuck with Igor right now because his voice actor died in Japan. So Lavenza's kind of taken over. But like, I don't know. There's a lot of questions that it seems like they're aware of because they've made mention of it. Hopefully they don't just like forget about it or explain it away like contritely at some point. But
they're like, you're like, hey, what happened to Igor? Yeah, what did happen to Igor? Moving on.
I mean, that's kind of the thing with the spinoffs is Igor's never in them. Like even in the Persona Q games, it's like in Persona Q, it's Margaret and Elizabeth and Theodore, and they're just like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. There's a bunch of like this weird stuff in the Velvet Room happened, and now you guys are together, and there's these weird things. It's like the Velvet Room just completely implodes during the spinoff games, and it never gets explained, and it's just like a free for all basically. All right. Because the Velvet Room attendants don't know what the fuck they're doing. They're children, essentially. And they're just like, we can't function without our master, and we're just going to kind of play this by ear and hope that the wild card's fucking figured out because we're not going to.
Where's Dad?
Yeah.
Big Nose Dad, where are you?
Help, please. So I don't know that we're going to, I don't know that Igor's going to make his appearance in Persona 5 Strikers. I think it's probably just going to be Lavenza, but, yeah, there's a lot of questions that the Phantom Thieves are asking amongst themselves. Cause like Morgana's completely confused about this too. Like, first of all, he's like kind of like, how does he exist to begin with? They kind of explain that away at the end of Persona 5, but like he's totally out of the loop. He has no idea what's going on. So it's all investigation.
The investigation team. Neat.
Yeah.
Callback.
That is something that I'm a little salty's not the right word. I'm not even disappointed in, but like with all of the other spin-off games, it's always been like they bring the other casts in. So like with the Persona Q games, it's all about mashing the cast together. That's what those are about. Yeah. But even with like Persona, the Arena games, Persona 4 Arena and Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, they had Persona 3 characters in those games. I guess the dancing games all kind of exist within themselves, but
you just want Yukiko to be in this.
No, I thought it would be cool to see the others. Like, I don't know. The other thing is Musou games usually have huge rosters. It's usually like, how many people can you play as in the Zelda one? How many characters are there that you can play? Conservatively, just ballpark.
I think it was around 14.
Okay, not as many as I thought, but still, that's
it wasn't excessive. It didn't feel excessive.
I think a lot of the other
100%. Like there were some characters that you would not unlock if you just did the story missions. Like you had to do side quests.
Sure. So in Strikers, there's the 8 Phantom Thieves. Futaba's not a playable character, and then there's 2 new characters. So there's 10.
Okay,
but
I think there's 12. That you're like guaranteed to get in Age of Calamity.
It just I expected there to be a bigger cast, but it seems like it's just the Persona 5 cast, and that actually is kind of better because it's a true sequel. It's not just like a half-assed kind of like here's a spin-off game. This is actually a real sequel to the game.
If you have too many characters, it gets so overwhelming so quickly.
Sure,
that was an issue with the first Hyrule Warriors. There was just so many characters you could play as, and like if you wanted 100% it, you would have to level all of them up to the max or something like that.
So there does seem to be some kind of experience sharing in this one. I don't fully understand it, but I'm only using 4 characters essentially, and the other 4, or the other actually I guess 5 are like leveling up independent and not anywhere near as fast, but they are leveling up a little bit.
Sure.
So it's really fun. The combat is really, really deep. Again, I haven't played a Musou game in years, probably 10 years at least. But from what I remember them being, and from what everybody seems to like, people who play Musou games are like the ones you see that are just anime knockoffs, like the Gintama one or the One Piece one or whatever. This is a definite clear step above that.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
So doing that, playing more Apex Legends when I get the chance here and there, and then I can confirm that the my next video will be up on Saturday. I will finish it tomorrow, and I'll release that Saturday morning, barring any unforeseen circumstances.
Cool.
If you're listening to the podcast, I will give you. I'm not as happy with this one so far. Maybe once I finish it and watch it all from start to finish, I'll have a different feeling about it. I just kind of feel like I maybe bit off too much to chew on this one, and I wasn't able to like complete it. Because the other thing is like, I'm not trying to make this a job where I'm spending a month on a video. Like I'm trying to give myself a deadline and hit the deadline. I don't want to take another week to fix things here and there and reshoot scenes and stuff.
Yeah. You're doing this for fun.
Yeah. So I feel like this video more than anything was a learning process. I hope that it's enjoyable somewhat, but it's not where I want it to be. So
I'm sure it's still good. I will address the elephant in the room. If you're watching the video podcast,
you got a haircut.
The VOD. No, I did not get a haircut. I did.
You got your ears lowered.
Close.
Oh.
Very close.
Oh, wait.
I did, after about 5 years of talking about getting my ears pierced to multiple people, I finally went and got my ears pierced. And the only reason I'm saying that, this is for all the people who do not follow me on Twitter, is because I want to warn you if you're going to get your ears pierced about one thing. Because everyone, when you ask, what is it like to get your ears pierced, will tell you, it's like a pinch, it kind of hurts, it's not too bad. Depending on where the piercing is, like there might be some bleeding, blah, blah, blah. Like normal things you would expect if something is making a literal hole in your body. What they do not tell you is that when they do the piercing, because it is your ear, you hear a very unsettling sound.
Explain
because you can
sound.
hear, you obviously feel it, but since it's right there, you can hear the needle going through your ear, like almost in layers.
Ooh.
And it is like, it's not one consistent sound. It was like 2 separate sounds. Like at a certain point it changed and I was like, what?
So
it was
like
very
times,
quick.
because I feel like it has like it's like a gun, right? They just go boop and then it's done.
So that's how a lot of places do it. If you go to like, I was told that if you go to like a nice place that has like people who do specialized piercing, they'll just do it with a needle. Like they won't use a gun. They'll use, at least the person that I was with, they had like these special pliers to kind of like flatten my ear that had like this big hole so that they could have a target. And then they just had a needle and they just shoved it right through. A very, very weird noise. Just be wary of the sound because it's going to be unlike anything you've ever heard.
Yeah. You just did the lobe, right? So it was just skin, basically. Janet
it was
has
just it was just the fleshy skin, like nothing crazy. I talked to somebody who got stuff like up here on the cartilage done, and they were like, I forget what exactly they named the specific section of the ear that they got done, and they were like, yeah, when I got that done, I heard a pop, and I wanted to scream, and I was like, oh no.
No thanks.
Yeah,
I'll keep my skin intact as much as I can.
that is fair.
I would like to avoid any contusions. Is that what that is? No, contusions are like bludgeonings, right?
I think so.
What is it when you pierce your skin? Protuberance, I think, is what Michael Scott said. I don't think that was right either, but
probably not if he said it.
Oh man, yeah. I don't like sounds that are not good sounds.
Like this is anti ASMR.
You know that to somebody though it is ASMR. Like
for sure. Somebody out there is getting their ear pierced, letting it heal, and then getting it re-pierced repeatedly. But yeah, so once the healing process is done, I will have my big old headphones back on. And right now they're studs, just because that's kind of like the training wheels of ear piercings. I did buy a nicer pair of titanium ones that are like this little hoop. They look like Lynx earrings. All right. I'll just say it. I'll admit it. We're all friends here. We're all fucking nerds. This is a nerd culture podcast. I like the way that those look on my ears.
For some reason, I thought about that Vine where it's that dad at that football game. He's like, "Isn't this just the best? Just guys being dudes." That's the energy you just gave off on the
Hell
podcast.
Yeah.
Just guys being dudes. Just nerds being geeks.
Midwestern, like old dad energy.
Yeah.
Honestly, he reminds me of a.
He's my stepdad.
Character's name is.
He's my stepdad.
All right.
He's not actually my stepdad, but that guy is 100% my stepdad.
Nice.
Or maybe it's the other way around. I don't know.
Yeah, who came first?
So I hesitate moving on to news because I feel like we're going to wrap it up real quick. Is there anything we just want to chat about for 15 minutes?
Well, I can say for sure, anybody listening to this within the first 2 months of this coming out, go right now, pause this podcast, go to the Twitch
don't pause
channel.
it yet. Wait for John.
Wait for me to explain.
Yes.
Once I'm done explaining, you will pause this, go to the Twitch channel, go to the VODs, and find the lost episode of Persona 4.
So we continued on our Persona 4 Let's Play series on Tuesday, and I fully intended on getting through the rest of the dungeon. However, grinding took a lot longer than I thought it was going to, and we ended up
it was like 2.5 hours, and we were like, okay, we can do the boss now, but also it's 10:30.
Right. And I'm not necessarily with this series in particular, maybe if we do another Let's Play series down the road, I'll do it differently. But this series right now, I'm not creating it specifically for YouTube. However, I also don't want to upload a video to YouTube that's 4 hours long and 3 hours of it is just running around in a dungeon, fighting golden hands and seeing them run away.
Making really, really fucking stupid but great jokes.
Yeah, there's some pretty good jokes in there. So, needless to say, we decided to just grind, and I didn't publish the Let's Play as a video on YouTube. It's going to be the lost episode. I don't know that we'll need to do this again. I think this is the only time, hopefully, that we'll have to grind like this for an entire episode. Knock on wood there, but I didn't upload it to YouTube. So if you want to watch this episode, and if you're going to watch the next episode and be confused as to why we went from level 35 to level 45, within the span of 5 seconds.
As well as a massive change in Persona lineup.
That's true, yes. Then you'll want to go watch the Lost episode, which is available as a video on demand on Twitch. I did download it. For free.
For the low price of free now.
It's free. So I did download it, though. And John, what am I going to do with it? What are we going to do with it?
We are vaulting the shit out of this. We're going to vault it. How many years do we want to pass?
Oh man, I feel like it doesn't. We'll know because it's got to be a thing where people want it. So from now, we're gonna talk about this thing. We're gonna bring it up constantly, and hopefully at some point people will be listening to us and ask about it. Like, well, what the fuck is this thing? And when
Yeah.
when the iron is hot, when we know that the people are begging for this thing, then we'll strike. It's the same thing. I don't watch much Rooster Teeth content anymore, but a long time ago, like when Achievement Hunter first started, they did a Let's Play series of like World of Warcraft that they never published. I think they did one with Magic the Gathering too. And it's just like they were bad. They were bad because the younger guys didn't want to play those games basically.
Oh, okay.
And it was just them.
So it was like half the people were complaining.
They were complaining or it just wasn't entertaining. So they chose not to release it. But people asked for it constantly over years and years and years.
Yeah.
And they finally put it out and it was a terrible video. And we'll do the exact same thing with this.
Yep. Exactly. So get watching now. Pause this. Go watch that.
Because after 2 months, you will no longer have that ability.
Disney Vault, Nintendo Vault. Now we have the QuickTime Event Vault.
Speaking of the Nintendo Vault, did you see Nintendo came out and doubled down and said all the Mario stuff is gone at the end of this month?
Yep. Everyone was like, "Hey, are you sure about that decision?" And Nintendo, yeah, 100%. We are not going back on that. It was a business decision.
I can't recall exactly the phrase, but Doug Bowser was asked a question and he responded in a very Nintendo way. And I took that as it's an inevitability that these are going to come back as individually purchasable titles.
Mm-hmm.
How long does that take? How long before we see these titles available? Maybe not $60 each, because again, it is just a straight port of Mario 64. But how long is it going to be before they release these things individually for us to buy?
Next year? I think they've got a lot on their plate this year. So I don't think they'll do that until next year. I really hope, I don't think that this will happen, but I can hope and I can dream that maybe next year they'll decide to release the virtual Nintendo 64 to go with the online service, since like they won't improve anything else. So like at least that would get people to continue subscribing to that service. Which would take care of Mario 64 and a lot of the Zelda games, but it's still annoying.
Yeah. I
think Doug Bowser called it like, we wanted to do something that would celebrate Mario. Like this is a celebration. That's why it's only a limited time thing.
Right.
Because I guess they want to stop celebrating him after a year and they just want to kill him off March 31st.
If you had asked me, I think maybe, well, were we doing this podcast when the Switch came out? No, we started after that, I think. Maybe it was one of the original lost episodes that are truly lost episodes that I can't find. I'm not going to be able to get.
The truly lost episodes, the ones that are gone forever, good luck finding them, are from when I was in college. And the Switch came out the year after.
Yeah. So it might have been on one of those episodes. I feel like we probably at some point in one of those many episodes we never published talked about the Switch.
Yeah.
I feel like I said at some point, like, for sure we're going to get the what do they call those things?
Virtual console?
The virtual console, yes. I thought for sure that we were going to get the N64 virtual console with the launch of the Switch.
And here we are.
Here we are 4 years later. And 4 years later, I don't know that we're ever going to get that.
That's the thing. If we don't get it next year, we're never getting it.
Because they're still fully, like, they fully intend to sell. Like Mario 64 was a paid for game. Like I think that they see the games that came out on 64, and for some reason, maybe because they're in 3D, I don't know, they feel like they can charge money for those, whereas the 2D ones they can't anymore.
It's so weird. It's like, yeah, as soon as you switch from 2D to 3D, like you switch from old school retro to just retro, now we can put a price tag on it.
Right. I don't know
that
if it's
isn't
maybe
just like a generic online service fee.
this is me totally just spitballing here, but I wonder if it's because like people that grew up with the NES and the SNES, most of them are no longer core gamers. There are definitely people who grew up in the 80s that had NESs and SNESs and still play games today. I'm not saying that's not the case, but like the people who are nostalgic for those games maybe don't spend money the same way the gamers who grew up with the N64 do.
I feel like a lot of those people probably at this point like have families.
Sure. But even, I mean, there are plenty of millennials that grew up in the 90s that have families now too. And it's just like, I feel like
That's true.
there's maybe just different spending habits. Maybe they've done their consumer research and they're like, well, 90s kids are going to buy these games forever. Every time we release them, the 90s kids are going to buy them.
And they're not wrong.
They're not wrong. So why would they create the N64 Virtual Console if they can sell Mario 64 for $30 again?
Yeah.
And again, that's totally me spitballing, but that's just kind of the sense that I'm getting. Like, there's absolutely no reason. They just ported Mario 64 straight from the Switch, or straight from the 64 to the Switch. Like, there's no reason why they can't group these games together and create a virtual console for it. They could have done this forever, and they've just chosen not to because I think they can pay for it again. I think we'll find out a lot. I'll feel much more confident in that by the end of this year, hopefully, if we get the rest of the news about those other Zelda games that are supposedly coming out.
Yeah.
Because if they're going to end up selling those things individually, then there's no way we're ever getting a virtual
The writing's
console.
on the wall. They know exactly who their audience is and how they're willing to spend.
Absolutely. But if they come out and they bundle them or something, then maybe that's not the case. But I think that once we see if that's true and if those are actual things that they're going to release, once we get an idea of what that's going to look like, I'm going to feel more confident in my prediction on that one.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of predictions, let's move on to the Pokemon Direct that happened last Friday. Although it wasn't the Pokemon Direct. What was it called? The Pokemon Presents?
Pokemon Presents, I think.
They definitely not. I guess it didn't have any Nintendo branding on it. It was all Pokemon Company stuff. So I guess that, I mean, okay. But it was a Direct for Pokemon. And they showed off at least 3 major things. I only have news stories pulled up for new Pokemon Snap, the remakes, and then that new one. Was there other stuff? Because I didn't watch the actual presentation. Was there anything else?
I can't remember anything else.
Okay. I didn't know if there was like something Pokemon Go related or something
Not
like
that I remember.
Okay. So let's start with the new Pokemon Snap stuff that we got. We got a new trailer for that. This article comes from Polygon.com, written by Patricia Hernandez. With an April release... Why can't I be an editor on Polygon.com? This is like a major... Okay, here's the first sentence, Patricia. You are normally a very... And you know what? Typos happen. You're not the one to blame with this. Your editor is.
Yeah.
With an April release, 30 release date. The first sentence.
Yikes.
The first
6 words or
with
7
an
words.
April release, 30 release date. I could be an editor for a while. I could have caught that Polygon, and you wouldn't be getting dragged on a no-name gaming and nerd culture podcast right now with 30 podcast downloads per week and
here's
X number on YouTube.
Here's a little bit of editing advice for all of you. This is I forget where I learned this, but whenever you finish writing something, assuming it's not like, I don't know, a 500-page book. Whenever you finish writing something, maybe it's just a chapter at a time, maybe it's just a page at a time. Give yourself some time, take a break, take a couple hours, go back to it, read it out loud, because you will catch every single issue if you read it out loud. If you read it in your head, you'll flub up and miss some of those like double words or whatever.
Right, you just glance over.
But if you read it out loud, you will hear it and you'll be like, "Oh shit. I put release, then 30, and then release."
Because that's the way the language works. From a linguistic standpoint, written language is not actually language. It's just a representation of the language. And I know that's an abstract thing, but like when you're reading something,
makes sense.
You're not reading each individual word. You're reading for the idea. You're reading for the sentence or you're reading for the knowledge.
Smack around that mic, Josh. Get angry.
Get out of here. You're reading for the macro idea, not the individual words. And so when you're reading in your head, you're not necessarily looking for grammar. You're looking for
the
ideas. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're going to miss if you write the word the twice. You're going to miss that.
Yeah.
You're going to miss the word release twice in a row on either side of 30 there. Anyway, with an April 30 release date, new Pokemon Snap is just around the corner. So Friday's Pokemon Presents was a perfect time to tell us a little bit about the photography-focused Switch exclusive. New Pokemon Snap is the sequel to the Nintendo 64 game with a nearly identical title, except this time around you'll be helping a professor out with an ecological survey. Studying the pocket monsters requires you to ride a rail tram of sorts, which will take you through the natural environments. And the better your pictures, the higher your score. The game will take into account things like the size of your subject, how you frame them, their pose, if they're looking at the camera, and more. You can also feed monsters to help take better photographs. And apparently the game will let you see certain monsters behave in entirely new ways. I thought there were... Is this not the one that had... Okay. It doesn't talk about the online features. Does it? The title of this article is New Pokemon Snap's Online Features Look Slick. And then the article doesn't talk about the online features.
That's something that I think is probably on the on Patricia. I don't think that's on the editor.
Yeah, Patricia, you might want to go back and take another look at this. Why would you title it that? I don't even know what they are. Let me look through this fucking trailer real quick. Does it even talk about? No, it's all like, okay, then there's a Pokedex. You can share pictures, I guess. You can share pictures with your friends probably. But other than that, without like just breezing through this trailer, I don't see anything online feature related. So apparently there's some pretty slick online features, but we're not going to be able to talk about them on this podcast unless John knows what they are.
I don't.
Okay, well, Patricia, thanks for nothing. Thanks for nothing.
Thanks. What's that one vine? Patricia!
Patricia! Do better, sweetie. Or whatever he said. Right? You can use different stickers. You can then... Okay, here you go. You can upload pictures to an official platform where you'll be able to see everyone else's snaps. So basically, you can share pictures. I know I'm not sure that I would call that an online features plural, but there you go.
That is singular. That is feature.
Mislead. That's bury. Not that's the opposite of burying the lead. That's clickbait, actually.
Patricia, you're better than this. I know you're one of the 30 downloads that we get a week. I don't.
So April 30th is kind of coming up a little bit soon.
God, I for whatever reason I thought it was the end of March it was coming. I'm so upset.
That's
like
okay.
in my head, I had just convinced myself it was the end of this month.
It's okay because now you can finish Spider-Man, you can move on to Final Fantasy, and then you can do Pokemon after that.
True.
You got plenty of time.
Bright side, Josh. That's what they call you.
And then at some point, 5 years from now, you can finally play Persona 5 Royal.
Yep. When Persona 6 comes out.
So you're excited for this game, obviously. You just said
Yes.
you're looking forward to it. What are your expectations? So how are your expectations set? And like, what does this game have to do to be successful in your eyes? Or how could it be like even better than you expect it to be?
I expect it to be basically the same game that came out on the N64, just with better graphics and new Pokemon. That is basically what I am expecting. I don't think that they're going to do anything to crazily change anything. Like that line about Pokemon exhibiting like unusual behavior or whatever. There were certain things you could do in Pokemon Snap, the original, that would make them do like unusual things. Like I remember there was a Charmeleon. There was like a whole Charmander like quest line within a level where if you got this group of Charmanders together and like they would fight over an apple or something, one of them would emerge victorious and become a Charmeleon. If you did that, he would show up later, and if you like hit him with this weird stun ball into lava, he would come out as a Charizard, and I think that was the only way to get Charizard. So like there were things already in the old game that were like quote unquote unusual behaviors. Like there were countless times where you could get Pikachu to do something weird. Like that's where we got Balloon Pikachu from. Was from Pokemon Snap, I think. And Surfboard Pikachu. So I expect that this is just going to be just like that, but with better graphics and more Pokemon.
Wasn't there like some mechanic that they showed off that was like not Gigantamax, but like something similar to that? It was maybe only in this region.
I don't know. It's also confusing because you have Gigantamax, but then you also have Mega Evolutions, and like there's just so many weird ways to like overclock your Pokemon now. And every time they come out with a new region, they come up with a new way, and I'm just like, why? You have a way. Why are you making a new way? Please stop. My brain can't handle this.
Next one's going to be Dragon Ball Z Fusions, where they're going to like do a dance.
Yeah. Yeah, for real. The thing that I really want out of this is a longer experience. And I don't mean like, what's the right word for it? Like a genuine longer experience, not just a like filler thing where you just have to grind something out. Because there were only like 7 levels.
Yeah, it was like 6
in the original Pokemon Snap. It was a short game, and each level is only like a 5-minute thing. And granted, yeah, you have to go back and play the level multiple times if you want to get like the perfect photo of every single Pokemon. But I want this new one to have way more than 7 levels. So like, if it is identical in every way, shape, and form, including the length and the amount of levels, I might be a little disappointed because like I'll want more. Like that's why people have been asking for Pokemon Snap for so long, Pokemon Snap sequel, is because we just wanted more. And now they have like 7 more generations of Pokemon to literally throw in here.
Yeah.
Like, you better have more than 7 levels, or these levels had better be long as hell. Or like have, I don't know, splitting paths, and you have 7 levels, but each level has like 5 sections you can go to.
Sure. That would be interesting. Yeah, I feel you there. I'm not excited for this game. I didn't really grow up with Pokemon Snap. I played it in Walmart or Toys R Us several times on the kiosk there, but I probably rented it once or twice, but I never owned it. I didn't play it a lot. Janet definitely did. I'm not planning on buying it. If I might mess around with it on Janet's Switch at some point, but like for me, as far as like as just a critic, like as somebody that can appreciate it, even though it's not really for me, I feel like it has to come out and it has to be longer. And you're right, not fake longer. Not just we have like so many Pokemon, but you need to replay the level 50 times to be able to get everything. That's not real like quality improvement.
No.
There needs to be more levels, and there needs to be more diversity within those levels. Like we're not developing for the N64 anymore. And sure, like the levels looked beautiful. Like they've done a really good job with the scenery and the environments and stuff, especially compared to like I've actually watched a couple people play Pokemon Snap on Twitch recently, and it's not anywhere near as nice as I remember it looking. Like the environments are just like there's nothing like it's polygons, you know. It's not. That's the case with any N64 game though. But like we're not in that era anymore. But it's also not like this game should have taken a development team of 400 people to make. Like this is basically the equivalent of an indie game from a complexity standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
So you should be able to develop more for this, given the improvements in technology.
Yeah, without a doubt.
So like, yeah, for me, for it to be successful, I would want it to be, I don't expect it to be any deeper than the original game. I think we've gotten that from the trailers, that this is just that. But it does need to be much, it needs to be probably, I would say like twice the length, honestly. Yeah. Like even if the levels were the same length, double them. Like give us twice as many. I think that would be probably okay. Especially if
For
you're going
sure.
to then go make people replay them a bunch of times to be able to get everything.
Yeah, and that would be fair. I would be pretty happy if they had like 15 would be good. Plus would be great.
Yeah. Especially, like you said, there's so many Pokemon now. There's literally like
Yeah.
6 times as many Pokemon as there were back then.
Yeah, there were 150 before, and I think we're like, have they hit 1,000 yet?
Let's find out.
Like, I know that the generations, there's not always the same number that come out each time.
No.
And then you have the more recent generations being like, hey, we're going to take this one from generation 1 or 2 and just kind of like rework it. Like, we're going to make Vulpix an ice type now, and it's technically the same like Pokedex number, which is weird.
Right.
So
Okay.
I don't know how that plays out.
How many Pokemon are there? There is not just one of, or this is not just one of the most frequently asked questions. It's also one of the hardest to answer.
Yeah, unsurprising.
Zarude, the most recently introduced Pokemon, is number 893, which is the simplest answer. But Calyrex and the 2 new... When did this article come out? These don't sound... Oh, October 9th, 2020. Were those Sun and Moon? I guess it was. Okay, so... but Calyrex and the 2 new Regis, Regieleki and Regidrago, will make 894 and 895 and 896.
Wait, there's more Reggies now?
Yeah, there's the 2 new Reggies, Regieleki and Regidrago. When they're released with the Crown Tundra DLC, which came out last year. However,
I didn't realize that they had come out. I didn't realize that 2 new Reggies had come out.
well, you didn't play Sword and Shield. You're behind.
I know, but like the Reggie started in Gen 3.
However, there are 36 regional forms for 35 different Pokemon, and Meowth has 2, which complicate the answer. Do they count as their own species? If so, this brings the total to 932. Mega Evolutions could also arguably count as separate Pokemon, with each one being given its own Pokedex entry, bringing the total to 980. However, the current official count stands at 893. Okay. So if you're not counting Mega Evolutions, if you're not counting all of the regional Pokemon forms, 893.
If you're going by the canon number, 893, which is, let's see, basic simple math. Can you do the thing I told you to, computer? Please, thank you. Do I have Nuzlocke off? I do. That would explain it. That is 6 times the number of Pokemon that originally came out.
Sure.
Or were out when Pokemon Snap, the first game, released.
I don't expect there to be 6 times the content in this game.
No.
I don't expect there to be 42 levels.
Yeah, I don't expect them to have between 40 and 50 levels. That is unrealistic.
So doubling the amount of levels would be, I feel
maybe tripling.
Maybe tripling.
Maybe.
I feel like doubling is the minimum. Like if it's anything less than double, if it's anything less than 15, even if the game, I feel like for me that would be like a disappointment.
As somebody who isn't even going to get it.
Who's not going to get it.
Like, man, I'm disappointed for everybody else.
Yeah. Because I don't think that's worth $60. I mean,
no.
For the nostalgia, maybe, but like, if each of those levels are, let's say, 10 minutes, that's a 60-minute game. Not saying you can't sell a 60-minute game for $60, but
$1 a minute, pay up.
Pretty steep. That's pretty steep.
Oh boy.
Any last thoughts on Pokemon Snap? Why does my nose hurt?
I'm still looking forward to it. I'm cautiously optimistic.
My nose hurts. My nose hurts right here. I don't know why. Cautiously optimistic, I feel like, is a good place to be.
Yeah.
Because if you're cautiously optimistic, it's harder to be disappointed.
Yeah, because you're slightly braced for it. I think that comes with the territory of growing up around the Cleveland Browns.
True. And I feel like in recent years, like to be a Nintendo fan, I think you have to be cautiously optimistic.
Yeah.
Because you're never sure when they're gonna fuck something up.
It's true.
So I'm stalling right now because I'm going into the archive document. Okay. Here we go. So the next article also comes from Polygon.com, which was actually renamed Pokegon.com, now that I'm seeing that on the website for this Pokemon Direct. Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remakes are coming to Nintendo Switch. Switching over to our QuickTime Event archive document, we both, I think, have predictions writing on this.
I know I do. You got one wrong already. You got one wrong for Nintendo, by the way. I realized it the other day when I was looking.
So, okay, here's our Nintendo predictions for this year. Nintendo will continue to dole out small... This was my prediction. Nintendo will continue to dole out small, highly focused directs. The full direct format is officially dead. They did bring it back a full direct within the first quarter, even.
Yeah.
However...
Somebody was listening and they were like, hey, we gotta help John out. He always loses.
Don't you kind of wish the direct was dead, though, after that last direct?
After that, yeah, 100%. I would much rather have smaller directs that are like mini and focused and like 20 minutes of actual content that I want to see.
Sure. I then said Zelda 35 will will feature a remaster collection a la Mario 3D All-Stars and a Tetris 99 style game. Breath of the Wild 2 will not be released in the calendar year. Currently, those are all still in play. They might surprise us later on and release Twilight Princess and what was the other one? Wind Waker as a bundle. Mm-hmm. So that's not out of question yet. The 99 thing, probably not. And I don't think Breath of the Wild 2 is coming out this year still. Anyway, the most important one, though, other than Pokemon Snap, we will see another new major Pokemon game release. Either a new generation or a Let's Go Pikachu / Eevee style game. And then John predicted Pokemon Remaster of Gen 4. So he was super specific about it.
Diamond and Pearl, baby. Too many.
We're getting there.
The internet has complained for far too long, and like they haven't. That was the oldest gen that they haven't touched. Because we've gotten Gen 3 remakes, Gen 2 remakes, Gen 1 remakes. That's at this point the oldest untouched gen. So like
definitely. I guess a real quick recap on John's other predictions before we move on to the article on Diamond and Pearl.
Fingers are so crossed for my other two.
Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 fall release. Again, still up in the air. I don't think there's a chance in hell, but Nintendo could surprise us. Cautiously optimistic again. And then his other one is a much better Zelda anniversary compared to Mario, with an HD anniversary game with Wind Waker HD, Twilight Princess HD, and
Skyward Sword.
For some reason, Soul Silver was in my head. Skyward Sword. So again, still stuff in play. But as far as Pokemon predictions go, we both got that one. We got a significant Pokemon release that is Diamond and Pearl remaster. Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, which are coming to Switch in 2021. The Pokemon Company, this is from Nicole Carpenter over at Pokegon.com. The Pokemon Company announced remakes of Pokemon Diamond and Pearl during a Pokemon Presents video on Friday. The remade games are called Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, and they're coming in late 2021. The remakes will retain the game's aesthetic, updated with a very cute, colorful new style. Those are two different things. They can't keep the aesthetic of the game and then also make it chibi and say that those are the same thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, the sense of scale of the original games, towns, and routes have been carefully preserved. Players will be able to choose from the other original 3 starter Pokemon, Turtwig, Chimchar, and Piplup. The legendary Pokemon for Brilliant Diamond is Dialga, with Palkia for Shining Pearl. In the news release, the Pokemon Company said Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl have been updated to include player-friendly conveniences that have since appeared in newer Pokemon games, as well as up-close and personal Pokemon battle scenes. Here's a very interesting thing. Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are being developed by ILCA Inc., the studio behind Pokemon Home. ICLA's Yuichi Ueda and Game Freak's Junichi Masuda are directing the games. That's pretty much everything.
Sure.
So, Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, definitely a different art style. The battles actually, if you watch the battle animation, it's the exact same one from like the way that the player character throws Pokeballs.
Mm-hmm.
It looks straight up like Eevee and Pikachu. Like the animation is exactly the same. I'm not invested in the Pokemon community. I'm not following like Twitter trends or anything, but I have seen some disgruntled Pokemon fans about the art style. And I've also seen other disgruntled Pokemon fans that are angry at people who are disgruntled about the art style.
I have seen the same thing.
I have no strong feelings. I mean, I feel like it looks fine. Like if they're going to remake they weren't going to remake the game. Like they weren't going to completely redo it in the style of Sword and Shield or anything like that.
No.
But I feel like this is a totally fine upgrade. Like if Atlas came out and remade Persona 3, I would expect it to look like this. I wouldn't expect it to look like Persona 5.
Yeah.
Because this isn't even, and this is probably one of the most interesting things of this is Game Freak is not making it. This ILCA company is making it that made Pokemon Home. So this is like, I don't know what they did before Pokemon Home, but Pokemon Home's not really a game. Right?
No.
So this is
I don't think so.
This is their.
I don't really know that much about Pokemon Home.
I don't either, but I thought it was like, is it the same thing as the bank? Isn't that like the bank kind of thing?
That's what I had assumed. And maybe I'm wrong and maybe I should look into this. But I just thought it was synonymous.
Yeah, this is kind of like their first game, I think.
And even if it's not, even if Pokemon Home is some game, it was clearly not a very successful game.
No. But yeah, so we're getting remakes. I don't think I played Diamond and Pearl.
I did. I don't remember if I beat them though. It was like right at the end of, like there was a time in like late middle school / high school where like you stopped playing Pokemon games because you were like, oh, this is a baby game. And I think Gen 4 was right around there for me. So I probably got it and then felt social pressure and then put it down forever. Yeah,
Gen 3 was that gen for me. I think that I remember Gen 3 coming out probably when I was in like 5th or 6th grade. So like that was around the time where it's like, oh, you like Pokemon? Oh,
you're a little dork.
Oh, you're a little fucking
You're
nerd.
A little baby dork.
Oh man, we're not even in high school yet, and I'm gonna give you trauma for the rest of your life. It's that situation.
Yeah.
So yeah, I put down Pokemon after Ruby. So I mean I'm familiar with the starters. I know what all 3 of those starter Pokemon look like.
Yeah.
I don't know what those legendary Pokemon are.
A lot of people love Gen 4.
That's what I've heard. I mean, I think that it's So was that on the DS, the original DS?
It was the DS, yeah.
So
the regular DS. Sure,
which the original DS was one of the best-selling consoles of all time. Maybe even the best-selling console of all time.
I've got my original. I think it still works, except I think the triggers are broken. But like the original DS.
Sure.
Like the silver looking one that wasn't quite a perfect rectangle, like the DSIs.
It was chonky, right?
Yeah, it was blocky. It was it was a bunch of polygons. You could make it in the N64.
I might pick this up, depending on when it hits and depending on what else is coming out. If we get to this story later, which I think we will, I don't expect a lot to come out this year. So if there's a block of time where I'm looking for something to play, I might go back to this.
I think I'm probably going to get it.
I was too cool to play it in 2000, whatever the hell, when it came out, but I'm not cool enough to not play it now. So I'll play it now.
You've accepted the dorkiness.
I've moved on.
It's true.
I no longer give a shit what anybody thinks about me. I'm out on here on the internet being an asshole every week. I'm about to publish a video where I make an ass out of myself for 15 minutes. So it's like I've long moved past that.
You know what you like. That's what's important.
Now, if I get negative YouTube comments, then I might go in a downward spiral. But I'll just delete them.
That's you'll have like war flashbacks.
Yeah. It's like,
to 6th and 7th grade. You'll be like, no, this is the internet version of.
And you know what the thing is? The people probably writing those comments are 6th and 7th graders, probably.
Yeah. Yep. 100%.
So it's like, how am I still back in middle school and I'm a fucking 30-year-old man?
Can you imagine? Can you imagine if somebody wrote like a negative review or whatever, and you did some digging, and it was your 7th grade bully? Like they just never. They've been waiting all this time to strike.
Yeah. I don't know that I had a 7th grade bully. It's just more like it's one of those things where it's like,
well,
your
like
friend,
a 7th grade classmate who maybe gave you shit for playing Pokemon or something.
Yeah. I don't know that I never had like a bully that like targeted me specifically.
Yeah,
I had
neither
assholes
did I.
that like were assholes, obviously, but
they were assholes to everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
That was a blanket asshole.
Just a real piece of work. But yeah, I'll pick it up if there's nothing else going on.
Yeah. Which one would you get? Because back in the day, whenever I got the originals, I got Diamond. My gut says get Diamond again, but at the same time, maybe Pearl's the way to go since I had Diamond.
I mean, what does that mean now? Like, really, the only difference between Sword and Shield were a few different Pokemon. Like, back in the day, like when I played, it was like, even like with the Game Boy Color, there were different color schemes. Like, did you want to have the game be in green or in blue?
Yeah.
But that's not the case now. So it's like, really the only thing that's different is maybe the enemies, I guess. Like sometimes the team is different.
I think they only really did that in Ruby and Sapphire.
Yeah.
Because depending on which one you got, you were fighting with Team Magma or Team Aqua.
Sure.
And I want to say that in Gen 4, it was like Team Galaxy.
That sounds right.
But like there wasn't like a Team Time and a Team Galaxy. It was just Team Galaxy. Like they reverted back to just one villain team. And I don't know if they've ever gone back to like splitting out and having multiple enemy teams that you like. One team is kind of good and trying to stop the other team, and you don't officially join them, but like you end up helping them out because the other guys are trying to literally end the world.
I'll probably, the way I'll make this decision is whatever one Janet's not getting, I'll get the other one because I have no buy-in either way.
No strong feelings. Yeah, that's fair.
The last little nugget, not really a little nugget, really big old nugget of news from this Pokemon.
A fucking boulder of a nugget.
Fucking mountain over here.
It's a large boulder the size of a large boulder. Have you seen those tweets?
Yeah.
Love it.
This article comes from Julia Lee over at Polygon.com. Pokemon Legends Arceus is an open world game set in
Thank you for saying it right.
Sinnoh.
There's so many people I know who pronounce it Arceus or Arceus, and I'm like, no, they have said it in the show. Like I've heard somebody say it, and it's Arceus.
I only read it that way because I read it like it's a Latin word. In Latin, C's are always hard. They're always ka. So like Caesar, his name wasn't Caesar, it was Kaiser, which is where you get the German word Kaiser. Cicero,
interesting.
That dude's name wasn't Cicero, it was Kikero. That was his name. So I just read it like Latin, and I got it right apparently.
Which makes sense because Arceus is apparently Pokemon God.
Yeah. A new open world Pokemon game, Pokemon Legends Arceus, is coming to Nintendo Switch in early 2022, the Pokemon Company announced. The gameplay trailer showed a trainer being presented with 3 starter Pokemon from a variety of regions. Rowlet from Alola, Cyndaquil from Johto, and Oshawott from Unova. I only know Cyndaquil. I don't know what the other ones are. The game takes place in the Sinnoh region and features trainers that do look similar to the trainers you play as in Diamond and Pearl, but with an old school Japanese twist. Throwing old Pokeballs at wild Pokemon appears to catch them without any necessity for battling. You'll be able to sneak around through bushes and explore a variety of areas in Sinnoh to grab tons of Pokemon. You'll still need to battle to get through certain parts of the game, however. Arceus, the godlike Pokemon, also plays a major role in the game, though there wasn't more information about its role shown during the stream. And that's the extent of that article. The big news is that it's an open world Pokemon game, which is something that everybody has been like asking for literally decades at this point.
Yep.
Ever since like Grand Theft Auto, basically. Like those first, like the Skyrim, I guess, like was probably, or Oblivion or something. Like we want open world Pokemon, and we're finally getting it. Lots.
So that's a lesson to all the fans out there. Just ask repeatedly for decades. And eventually they will listen.
Look, I'm not saying that you're not going to get the N64 virtual console. I'm just saying you're not going to get the N64 virtual console until 2040. That's when you'll get it, when we're 50 years old.
By that time, we'll be begging for a Switch virtual console.
Yeah. So we can play Pokemon Legends Arceus.
Exactly. It will truly be full circle.
Everybody, not everybody, but there are a lot of comparisons being made between this game and Breath of the Wild, which sparked a like a meta conversation about what the fuck Breath of the Wild even means at this point. Because it's almost like every open world game, especially the open world games that are like from series that maybe weren't open world in the past, they're just being labeled as Breath of the Wild like games now, instead of open world games, which is what they actually are.
Yeah. Or any game that has like a mountain in the distance and a field in front of you.
Now, granted, this game in particular, like the color palettes are kind of similar to, like, they're very green and blue heavy.
Yes.
There's more than one. I will give them that at least with this game, it does actually call back to some of the imagery from Breath of the Wild, a little bit more so than others, but
especially the shot that they did at like the end where like the camera kind of like is flying around and like you see the character and it just like zooms up behind them and then it just shows this vast overlook. Like somebody did a side-by-side comparison.
It was exactly the same.
It looks identical in terms of camera angles and basically subject material.
Yeah, it was like Link and the trainer, they were standing on a cliffside and the camera was like way behind them and it zoomed up onto the character as they were overlooking the cliff. And they kind of panned up over the character so you saw over their shoulder and like into the distance. And it was the exact same shot on both of them. So that was clearly, I think, a direct reference.
Yes. But that was the only direct reference.
Yeah.
Well, the biggest direct reference.
Sure. The only other like reference, the only other similarities is that they're both open world games. They're both open world games on a Nintendo Switch, which is not as powerful. And so they look similar because they're sort of empty and there's like not, I don't know. Not that Breath of the Wild was empty, but you know what I'm talking about, where it was like, it's very, very open. There's not there's not a lot of density in the terrain.
There's not towns everywhere.
No, it's very
natural,
sparse and open and natural. Yeah. I mean, I'm once again cautiously optimistic as I am with all Nintendo stuff.
Yeah. I'm very intrigued.
Very intrigued. I don't know that I loved the gameplay that they showed in the trailer.
Yeah.
Like some of it looked pretty clunky and I get that like supposedly it's being released this year, right?
No, started next year.
Yeah. Okay, so it's still a ways off.
We've got about a year until it releases probably.
To polish, but like some of the animation looked really blocky.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like what they're talking about with like throwing Pokeballs at wild Pokemon, they're almost taking that Let's Go style of game into account a little bit. And maybe you're only going to be battling other trainers.
I hope not, but I think you're right.
So I don't exactly know what to, I mean, I have zero expectations as to what this game's going to be because I literally don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
So it's something we'll definitely keep our eyes on and we'll talk about as we get new news about it. But it's exciting. At the very least, this is something to be excited for. You know, like they're finally giving us an open world Pokemon game, which is something that we've asked for again, decades. So even if it comes out and it's not everything we wanted it to be, at least they took that step.
Yeah, we have a starting point.
I'm very much looking at this in the same way that I looked at the people like were looked at Assassin's Creed 1. Like, even if this game comes out and it's not a banger, they still, I think, will learn a lot doing this. And maybe the next mainline Pokemon game will be a true open world Pokemon game. It'll be that next major step that we've been wanting in the mainline series for a long time.
Yeah.
So again, I'm cautiously optimistic. I think that this is going to be great for them to, again, branch out and start something new. But I have zero expectations.
Good way to go into it, for sure. And that pretty much covered it for all the Pokemon news, I think.
Yeah. I feel like that's how you do a 25th anniversary. Like, that's how you do a major anniversary.
Yeah.
You come out like you come out with the game you've already announced, which is Pokemon Snap. You show off new stuff. It's coming out very soon. And then you show off 2 new big things.
Yeah.
New things. Not
feed the people.
Yeah. I mean, I guess technically
feed your fans.
The Diamond and Pearl are their remakes, but they're still, it's not an HD remaster, you know. It's not okay, we made this 4K, or we made this not even 4K, 1080 and took away the Wiimote controls. Like, yeah, this is a major upgrade for that. And then again, they're giving us something that we've wanted for decades. So I feel like they did a really good job with this Presents. I kind of wonder what the Pokemon Company was thinking. Like, we got a Nintendo Direct a week before this.
Yeah.
I grow more and more curious over the years what the relationship between Nintendo and the Pokemon Company is. Like, what stake does Nintendo have in the Pokemon Company? And why doesn't the Pokemon Company at any time just be like, you know what? We're bigger than this. Like, we can do whatever we want, you know?
Yeah. Which they could easily.
Yeah, for sure. But like,
I think for the longest time, they just assumed that, like, maybe they just got into a groove where they were just so used to not only working with Nintendo, but developing for a handheld system, and Nintendo had the number one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And once the PlayStation decided to go against that, like, they missed their window if they were ever going to branch out.
Yeah. But like, is there a contract there? Because Nintendo, I don't think that Nintendo even publishes the games. I think it's all the Pokemon Company, and Game Freak is the developer. I don't know that, like, I don't know what Nintendo, like, what kind of contract did Nintendo force the Pokemon Company into back in 1996 to still be able to, like, have control over all of this? Because there's nothing else. Like, you would think that, I don't know, if this was any other company, every other company, like, all the other third-party Japanese game developers have games on all the systems.
Yeah.
Sega, Bandai Namco, Koei Tecmo, Atlas, they're all everywhere. But somehow the Pokemon Company is locked into Nintendo's ecosystem. And I don't know if that's just they like working with Nintendo. I don't know if it's just like they've signed a blood contract. I'm really curious about what that relationship is, though.
The next, like, 6 generations must work with Nintendo exclusively. Someday in, like, I don't know, 2150, they'll be like, okay, we are ready to release our new game for the XX box X box XX
XXXXX.
Yes.
Can you
not to be confused with the Xbox box X XXX Xbox box X.
That was the other one, Series S.
Yes.
But can you imagine?
That one has the O, the umlauts on the O.
Oh. Can you imagine the conversation that we would have had, or just like, not even our conversation, but the tone of Nintendo's Direct from 2 weeks ago? If they had either the Diamond and Pearl remake or Pokemon Legends Arceus in that Direct, we would have had a totally different conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
But they couldn't get it for that. Their first
they could have cut out they could have not cut out, but cut down on Project Triangle strategy or whatever.
Yeah.
And put in literally all of this, basically.
Sure. But like, even if they just had one of them,
Yeah.
just either one of them, it still would have been huge. It would have been those were both really big announcements.
I think it would have been an objectively successful direct.
Yeah, for sure. That would have taken it above the line of just mediocre. That would have been great. It would have been, we got the weird dodgeball game. We got this other stuff. But you know what? We got a new Pokemon game. We got a Zelda remaster. We get Project Triangle Strategy and all these other things. Like, it would have been a great direct.
3 next year, even though we're only talking about this year.
But they couldn't get it.
Yeah.
Why? Like,
that's...
Because the other thing is Nintendo has done Pokemon Directs before. There have been Directs that were labeled as Pokemon Directs. This was not labeled a Pokemon Direct.
Maybe?
It was a Pokemon Presents. So this was totally the Pokemon company overseeing their IP. I don't want to.
Maybe it has something to do with... I already forgot the name of the studio, but whoever's doing the Diamond and Pearl remaster. Yeah. Maybe it's because it's not all just Game Freak.
Yeah, but Game Freak isn't the one that... Like, Game Freak is... I don't know. It's so weird. Because Game Freak is just a third party. That's the other thing is, how did Game Freak get locked into this? Because Game Freak is its own thing. The Pokemon company... This is just Japanese business 101. But these companies are so messed up. There's so many tendrils that link into other things. And all of them are kind of independent and also not independent. There's so much going on here that the relationships are... Maybe that'll be a video I do. Maybe that'll be one of my next videos is a video
You're gonna do a deep dive and try to uncover the truth?
Yeah, because this is... there's just too many things.
Like, at this point, somebody has been married off into somebody's family that's a higher up, right?
I would think so. Something like that. Or maybe
this is now literally a family issue.
Maybe the Pokemon company is just a front for the Yakuza, and like this is just they're paying protection money to Game Freak or Nintendo, or I don't know. But somehow,
maybe depending on Japanese laws, like Nintendo, if they had Pokemon under their umbrella, would be too big and would have been broken up, and so they were like, okay, here's this new company, not us.
Well, they've done that before. Was it Nintendo? No. Well, Nintendo. So on the NES, and I always forget what the exact rule was, and it was Konami, I think. Konami had basically not an umbrella organization, but like a sub company, basically, because Nintendo back in the NES era only allowed you to publish so many games per year.
Yeah, that's right.
It was the quality thing, the seal of approval that they've never really used. They took away a long time ago.
If you pump out too many games, clearly they are not going to
it's just shovelware
be up to par.
Sure. So they had this quota basically where you could only publish so many games. So Konami went out and just started another company so they could publish more games on the NES every year.
Maybe they couldn't break their own rule, and they were like, well, shit, we've already came out with our 5 games this year, but we want this Pocket Monsters thing to come out. Like, it's going to be great, but we can't break our own rule because then everybody's going to be so pissed.
Right.
So we're just going to make the Pokemon company. And just to give us one step further, they're going to work with this company called Game Freak.
It blows my mind that Nintendo wasn't able to get any of this for their own Direct. And they didn't have a Pokemon Direct. Like, none of this was under Nintendo. Obviously, it's all going to be on Switch. So Nintendo's going to benefit from it. But, like, why weren't they involved in the marketing?
Yeah.
What happened there?
Because that's too big of a, like, dropped ball. That there's something more happening behind the scenes.
I feel like there is. There's a nugget. There's a story here. I haven't heard anybody talk about this. I think I'm the only one thinking about it, but I want to know what happened.
Spider Cop is on the case.
Spider Cop is going to go and do some digging around.
Oh, man.
let's stay on the Nintendo bandwagon for just a little bit longer because fresh rumors came up this week about a new Switch model coming out supposedly this Christmas.
Do you know how many times on Twitter over the past 2 months I've seen Switch Pro trending?
It's been a lot.
It's weekly.
Yeah. Anyway,
but now apparently maybe it's real.
Could be real now. This article comes from Bloomberg. Mochizuki Takashi and Sohee Kim. Takashi has leaked. He's he's a true insider. He's worked for Bloomberg, and I think he does freelancing for someone else. But he's on the inside track for a lot of this stuff. So I think this is definitely very credible. I think that we've heard about Switch Pro stuff for a long time now. But this, I think, is probably the most concrete stuff that we've gotten so far.
Based on what I've seen, the upgrade specs are believable.
I'm pretty sure, actually, that Takashi was the guy that leaked the Switch Lite. I'm pretty sure he's the one that got his hands on that stuff first. So
okay.
This also makes sense. So again, this comes from Bloomberg. Nintendo company plans to unveil a model of its Switch gaming console equipped with a bigger Samsung OLED display this year, hoping the larger touchscreen can prop up demand in time for the holidays, people familiar with the plan said. Samsung Display Company will start mass production of 7-inch 720p resolution OLED panels as early as June, with an initial monthly target of just under 1 million units. The displays are slated for shipment to assemblers around July. Representatives for Nintendo and Samsung Display declined to comment. Nintendo seeks to sustain a Switch lineup that continues to sell well against the Xbox and PlayStation, thanks to pandemic-era breakout hits like Animal Crossing and a chip crunch that plagued supply of rival devices. But the gadget is now into its 5th year, while the Microsoft Corp and Sony Corp both have new and more powerful machines in the market now. The release of a more premium version of Nintendo's Switch console with the OLED display and support for 4K graphics for the holiday 2021 selling season could drive the company's sales above consensus for the fiscal year ending March 2022 and extend the life cycle of the Switch platform for many more years. The OLED panel will consume less battery, offer higher contrast, and possibly faster response time when compared to the Switch's current liquid crystal display. The rest of it is just technical stuff about the OLED and money stuff. So
new, stronger Switch,
7-inch OLED panel with 720p resolution playing in handheld mode and 4K on the TV is what they're saying, which is a significant step up from what we have with the Switch and the Switch Lite.
Yes. I do. It is interesting because I know that somebody from Nintendo came out kind of recently and said, I mean, they were kind of vague about it, but they were like, we have no plans to release a new, stronger Switch this year. Somebody is on record saying that. However, they said the word intention or plans, which... Oh, sorry, we didn't plan on it, but here it is.
Yeah. I'm sure they didn't have any intention on creating 6 different versions of the 3DS, but they did that too.
Yep. Plus, obviously, they're not going to say, oh, yeah, a new, stronger Switch is coming in a year. Also, we have these regular ones that are now Monster Hunter and Mario and all these themed ones. That are going to be outdated in literally less than a year.
Exactly.
Please go buy them.
Exactly. We need you to continue buying Switches until we tell you there's something new. And maybe if we don't tell you for long enough, you might buy 2. So let's not say anything.
Please.
I think there's also a less...
do not release a Zelda Switch unless it's the Zelda Switch Pro.
I think there is a less nefarious reason for this too. If I was a tech company, I would not want to commit until I saw the fucking chips for myself.
That's true.
I don't want to commit to their, I wouldn't be surprised if all of this is, I think for sure all of this is true. I think that Samsung is manufacturing OLED screens for Nintendo.
Yes.
But if they're not able to get enough of them, or if whatever the chip company is that's making their chip, if they can't get enough of those, it would not surprise me if Nintendo's like, you know what, abort, we'll do this spring next year. We're not going to try and do what PlayStation and Xbox did this year because we're not going to have enough of them, especially if they're going to have a lineup of games that run. This is another conversation, but if they have a lineup of games that maybe only run on this new console or run better on this console that they're really trying to push for this console, we don't want to like release those and have it be all messed up. So let's just push it off and make sure that we have enough consoles for demand when we release it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, obviously this is all speculation at this point, but it's been long rumored. I feel like this was an inevitability when you look at what Nintendo's done with their handheld specifically. And I know the Switch is a hybrid between the two, so there's not really any precedence here, but there were so many. You had the 3DS, you had a 3DS XL, you had the new 3DS, you had the new 3DS XL, you had the 2DS, you had the 2DS, the new 2DS, and I think there was a new 2DS XL too. There were fucking, what was that, 7 consoles?
And that's just the 3DS. If you want to consider the DS and then the DSi and then the DSi XL, which I don't know if you do.
No, I think it's well known the DS and the 3DS were 2 different consoles.
Okay. I'm more viewing it as the DS could play DS games, but not 3DS games. But the 3DS could play DS games and 3DS games.
Sure, it was backwards.
So if this new, more powerful one comes out, it would be just like that in terms of possible games only running.
I mean, they did that with the 3DS. There were games that only ran on the new 3DS and didn't run on the original 3DS.
God.
I think that Bravely Default was one of those. I can't remember what the other ones were, but there were definitely, it was a handful of games, but there were a few games that did not run on the original 3DS and required the new 3DS.
Yikes.
So there's precedence for that too. Do I think they're going to go that far with it? I don't think so.
I hope not.
I don't think that you can have a console out for 4 years and call it a generation. Like, I don't think that's a thing.
No.
So I don't know. I don't know on that part of it, but I guess I don't know where I want to go from here. Are you gonna? Let's say they release a Zelda one, because you originally said you weren't going to do it. But if they release a Zelda, well, I guess they wouldn't do that right away.
I think it's too late. I think if they release a Zelda Switch Pro, I will probably get it. If they are like in September, hey, we have this Zelda Switch coming out now, and like a couple weeks later, they're like, hey, we've got the Switch Pro coming out too, then I will not get the Zelda Switch, because I will wait and probably get the Pro. Because I know some people who like didn't get the Switch that I would be comfortable just gifting my Switch to, because like they've missed out on plenty of games, and at that point I've gotten a lot of time out of my Switch, so I'll feel justified in buying a new one, especially if like they do that shitty thing where they're like, okay, the Switch Pro can play Switch Pro and Switch games, but the Switch cannot play Switch Pro games, because Breath of the Wild 2 would be a Switch Pro game.
That's going to be the deciding factor for me, is if the new games can't be run on the original Switch, then I'll probably at some point end up picking up the Pro. But yeah, if it doesn't, I don't think I'll get it. I mean, as long as the game runs.
But you don't play, that's not your primary console.
And that's the thing, is like, if they would have released this at the same time they released the Switch Lite, I would have bought this, and then I would have given Janet my original Switch.
Regular Switch. Yeah.
Right. But because I already bought the Switch Lite, there's no reason for me to get this, especially if I'm only picking it up again, maybe once a year. Like, I don't know. the only thing I'll pick it up for this year probably is Pokemon if that comes out. Like I'm not going to play Pokemon Snap. I'm not going to play Skyward Sword. Like it's going to be probably Pokemon or nothing. So
for you, it doesn't make sense.
No, not at all. But for you, again, it's your primary console. So I if you're playing like Persona Strikers on there, Persona 5 Strikers, then I would want the more powerful one.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out.
I think that's it for the Nintendo portion of the podcast.
Sad. Hate to see you go.
I still can't, it blows my mind that they couldn't get either of those Pokemon games at their direct.
I know. Whenever I saw this 20-minute of like greatness, like no real lulls, I was like, hold up. You just had a 40-minute thing that was full of lulls that could have instead been full of these hype moments.
Like last Thursday when you told me there was a 20-minute Pokemon, you said a direct, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
The presents. When I found out there's a 20-minute thing, I was like, okay, we're going to get a Pokemon, another look at Pokemon Snap that's coming out very soon. I thought at the time that we're definitely going to get like the remake because I think that was heavily rumored.
For the whole week.
For the whole week, it was like Diamond and Pearl. So I expected that. But the rest of it was just like, okay, I will get like a Pokemon Go thing. We'll get another like Pokemon Sleep kind of deal. Just like a Pokemon flavored iPhone app, essentially. But no, we get the game that we've always wanted, or we supposedly. We got a huge bombshell announcement.
We've got the potential for the game we've always wanted.
Sure. And Nintendo wasn't able to get any of that. Not even the Snap thing. Like, they could have, even if they had Pokemon Snap at the direct, it would have been better. I mean, it wouldn't have been great, but that would have been something at least.
Yeah.
And I feel like the Pokemon Company didn't need to have that here. Like, we know that's coming. Your fans know that's coming. You could have not had that, and this still would have been fucking bonkers.
Yeah. Something weird happened there. You're right. Detective Josh is on the case.
I gotta go find
Snip out that story. Get that scoop.
I'm gonna go to I can't remember what the name of the city was, but I'm gonna go find Detective Pikachu, and we're gonna go on the case. We're gonna figure it out.
He knows. He knows already. Just be careful. I think he's in on it. He might backstab you. Real quick,
this last article, which is coming from gamesindustry.biz from Brendan Sinclair. This is really just a thought piece, and he's collected some evidence to back up what I've been talking about, and we've been talking about on this podcast for most of this year, which is that 2021 could be a thin year for new games.
Surprise!
While COVID-19 was formally identified at the end of 2019, the enormity of the situation didn't hit home for many of us in gaming until it caused the postponement of GDC. This weekend marks the 1-year anniversary of the postponement, and while we're still not actually through the pandemic, we have a much better idea of its impact on the industry than we did initially. In some ways, gaming has actually benefited from the pandemic, with people turning to games as options like going outside and doing things were taken off the table by regional lockdowns. Many publishers have also reported a surge in engagement for live service titles and increased catalog sales. That's particularly fortunate because it looks like the flow of new games, particularly on the AAA front, is going to be uneven for a while. In retrospect, last year came together pretty well for most big game releases. While there were delays for The Last of Us Part 2, Cyberpunk 2077, and Final Fantasy VII Remake, much of what we expected to arrive actually did. From the 1-2 punch of Animal Crossing and Doom Eternal early in the pandemic to the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series XS launches, Halo Infinite aside, most of this year's biggest releases were either on time or had relatively minor delays. That said, it appears that a sudden shift to entirely remote work and the logistical and mental toll of dev teams plugging away throughout a global pandemic is not actually conducive to typical levels of productivity. We're seeing mounting evidence that with recent Nintendo Direct and Sony State of Play events that received an underwhelming reception, and as we'll see below, a growing number of stories about delayed titles and pandemic-related development difficulties. So here's a bunch of quotes from a bunch of different places about delays. The COVID-19 pandemic. Oh, sorry, I missed them. The COVID-19 is keeping us away from the office and the large amount of work on our plates. We needed to move the date in order to make sure that both this year's updates and The Witch Queen were both delivered at the quality we strive for and on a schedule that made sense for everyone involved. That came from Bungie, who had to push Destiny 2's new expansion, The Witch Queen, into next year, 2022. So this is actually the first time that Destiny is not going to get an update this year. It's going to be a whole year without a real content drop for them.
Right after they recently split off, right?
It's actually been last year. It's been like a year and a half. I think it was fall 2019.
That's one thing that I didn't realize is how much this pandemic has just screwed up my sense of time.
Yeah,
I realized it the other day because like I was talking to somebody about when I did this one thing, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I think it was like a year ago, maybe a little less." And then I thought about it, and I was like, "Wait, no, this was." I think it was involving when I like went to Columbus last, and I was like, "Yeah, it was probably like within the last year." And then I was like, "Wait, no, I haven't left the house in the last year. What am I talking about?"
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I think it was fall 2019 when Bungie split off from Activision Blizzard. Well, I guess they were always independent, but they took Destiny out. They
popped the champagne.
Yes. So Sega is expecting to ship 18 games by the end of this fiscal year, compared to the 30 that it projected back in August.
Hold up, time out. What games are they? What games?
I don't. Sega publishes a bunch of stuff. It's not all Sonic and Persona games. it's a lot
for sure.
Smaller stuff. But as of last August, they were projecting by the end of their fiscal year, they were going to ship 30 games, but they're only going to ship 18. So there's a bunch of delays. There's a quote in here from BioWare about the halt of development on Anthem. Polyphony delayed Gran Turismo 7. Sony announced that it has another VR headset in the works, but with the pandemic, they needed to delay some of that. And then obviously the manufacturing of that is going to be a whole nother thing.
Are there like date stamps with these statements?
No, they all link to an article. So you could go read each individual article. But
I am curious. I'm not sure if I'm willing to put forth the work, but I'm curious how many of these statements of acknowledging and saying, hey, we're delaying this number of games. I'm curious how many of these statements came out after Cyberpunk.
I would think that almost all of these are. These are all really real. Like all the PlayStation ones were last week. Like when they announced Gran Turismo, the VR thing, they're getting rid of Japan Studio except for Team Asobi. I'm guessing that Bungie wouldn't have talked about the Witch Queen until after they released whatever the expansion was last year. So that would have been at the earliest, probably December, that they talked about it. But I'm guessing that would have been this year.
But like, I'm just curious how many of these delays, obviously it's all because of the pandemic, but how many of these delays would they have tried to just push through had they not seen CD Projekt Red just go into flames?
Yeah, that's a fair question. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know that any of the ones we talked about so far. Maybe Bungie. Well, Bungie takes good care of its stuff. I think that I feel like maybe Sega might have pushed something through, but like PlayStation's always had a good track record of delaying games. I think that the CD Projekt thing definitely weighs on people's minds. But as we now clearly see, CD Projekt had way more issues.
Yeah.
Than just not delaying their game. They have a ton of issues. But yeah, basically all of these are just The rest of these stats in here are just stats and quotes are just talking about where developers are at. And it's not where they want to be.
It's not great.
So, once again, set your expectations, everybody out there listening.
Temper them.
This is...
Reel them in.
Again, I'm going to say this, I think, maybe every week this year on this podcast, but there's just no way that this year can live up to 2020.
Nope. Not in terms of gaming, and hopefully not in terms of insanity.
No. It was really great timing, actually. The pandemic was really great time. I mean, the pandemic was fucking
A pandemic
terrible.
is never a good thing.
No.
But if it had to happen...
Last year was a great year for it to happen. At least if you
For-
are a gamer, or if you
Yes.
wanted to, if you like to play games, it was a perfect time because we got new consoles. All the games that came out did come out again because most of them were already mostly finished.
Yeah. We
Some
saw
of-
maybe delays by like a month.
Yeah, we had a few that got, like The Last of Us had a delay, Final Fantasy had a delay,
Animal
Cyberpunk had
Crossing.
multiple delays, Animal Crossing, like there were delays that
But they all
happened.
came out ultimately.
Right, because most of the development had been finished by then. Obviously,
Yeah.
we've been in this thing for a year now. There's been a lot of development that's happened since last March. But it's been in a completely different environment. So, like, if a game was supposed to come out this fall, let's say, like, out of that 1 year, and these are just completely made up numbers, but like, if maybe they're getting 75% of the productivity they get while they were in office, that's 3 whole months that they lost, essentially.
Yeah.
So like you got to expect that there's going to be at least a 3-month delay. So if Sony was expecting God of War to come out this November, that's a spring game now.
Yep.
So again, I think that I've been saying this for a long time. Brendan has summed it up here. This is going to be a light year.
Work
Light
through
year.
your backlogs.
Yeah.
Replay some old favorites.
Great time. Great time for that. Anything else for the good of the order?
I think so.
What is
I want to
Black?
I want to play Undertale again, but like I know that I'm going to play it the same way cuz I can't kill my fake monster friends. I just can't. I can't do it. I can't get the other ending. It would break me as a person. It's the same thing as like Fire Emblem 3 Houses.
Sure.
If I play that again, there's these 3 other ways to like play the game and experience new stories and characters and content.
But
No thanks.
but my Black Eagles.
But I miss my friends. I miss my friends who are made of numbers, zeros and ones.
but what about Petra and her doing the things? What about
Yes. What about Bernie? And how scared she is all the time. Who's gonna help her?
If you like what you heard, you can find it as a podcast live on twitch.tv/QuickTimeEvent_ every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You can also find it all across the internet on all of your favorite podcast services and on youtube.com shortly after the live show ends. I am on Twitter at Josh Clasen. John is on Twitter at John Kameko. Come join our Discord server. Join in on the fun. Come be a part of the community and help us build something great over on that Discord. You can get the link in the Twitch panels and the video description below. My next scripted YouTube video will be up Saturday morning for you, so I'd very much appreciate it if you go and give that a view. Like, subscribe, do all the YouTube things.
Like, comment, subscribe, Venmo me.
And we'll be back next week with a real episode of Persona 4 Golden and another podcast. We keep plugging away.
We already had the realest episode we'll ever have.
That's true. We've been really good recently with the podcast. When's the last time we took a week off for the podcast?
Honestly,
last summer?
I think it was, yeah, there was like 2 months towards the like start of the pandemic when we were like, hey, my mental health is in a really bad place. I need to not do this. And like we had that happen for like a month and a half.
It was I think it was
kind of consistently
6 or 7 weeks, I think, where we didn't have a podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've been really good. We haven't missed a week. So
We've been on time.
We've been on time. We're having a good run here. This is the best, most consistent run of the Quick Time Event podcast to date. So if you want to come join the live show. Come join the chat. Come be a part of everything as it happens. 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. All right. Well, that will be it for us. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your support. We'll be back next week. Until then, have yourselves a great night and a great weekend.
Peace out.
Bye.